Wake Up Tucson, it's your town. Get up and get involved. It's Wake Up Tucson with Chris DeSimone and Joe Higgins.
A little less conversation, a little more action, please. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction.
All righty. 7:06 in the morning. Welcome back to the Wake Up Tucson show. If you missed the first hour, you missed quite a potpourri of stuff between the International Aquaponics Association's having their meeting at Lowe's Ventana Canyon this weekend. 200 aquaponic nutball, Joe Higgins. I didn't know there were 200.
I didn't know either.
They grow things, and then they grow fish over here and water over there.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
It's Green Party Dave. Hopefully you picked up some tips for your garden over at the West University neighborhood. We also had Samantha from the Humane Society. Ed Alexander is headlining. He used to headline the Copa. Now he does Mosey with Mutts over at Reed Park, coming up a week from Saturday.
Celebrity dog walk. That's
And then the master hairbone, Harry Alexander, came in for Talk Like a Pirate Day. So all we can do is go up and up in this. So you saw the opening bands on this show today. So our headliner today is Superintendent of the Tucson Unified School District. And his name is H.T. Sanchez. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And welcome to Tucson. Joe, we have spent a lot of time talking about this education thing.
Yes.
And all the things.
Like the great Whitney Houston says, we believe the children are our future. So if we treat them well, let them lead the way. Because we definitely, we both have kids. HT, we have children that my daughter's a sophomore and your son's a freshman. And we have daughters, girls, same kind of difference in ages. So we're really interested in the outcome of our community. And it's a very honor to meet you and have you come on in and try to put your stamp on TUSD.
Thank you.
And we were talking at the break a little bit about you're from Odessa.
Yes, Odessa, Texas, West Texas, famous or infamous for Friday Night Lights.
Okay. All right. Great series, good book.
Yeah.
Now, your district you came from had about 36,000?
Right around 30,000 students.
30,000? Okay. And K through the whole district.
Yeah, it was pre-K. In Texas, pre-K is funded by the state, and so it's pre-K through 12th grade, and did a lot of collaboration, of course, with the university and community college. So I'd say probably all the way up until sophomore year at college or university.
And kind of comparing Tucson market to Odessa, they have you actually are increasing enrollment in a competitive market. You have charter schools and private schools, all those things, and you have grown the district.
Right. In Ector County, anybody can go back and take a look. There's about 1,200 student increase on average over the last 3 to 4 years. Charter schools exist in Texas just like they do here in Arizona, private schools, parochial schools, so the entire mix is there. And so, no, not a whole lot of difference in the sense of the market.
And then you're saying you just passed a bond override to build some new schools? And
Right. Right before leaving this last November, the voters voted for the largest bond package in Ector County history to build 3 new elementary campuses, as well as some updates and additions to the comprehensive high school campuses that would allow for more students to, take part in education on those facilities.
Now, you're also saying that demographically, Odessa is an oil company town, and you said unemployment was over 2%, which is unheard of.
Right around 2.75, 2.8 when I left. I think Odessa Midland in the United States is has the lowest unemployment rate. People there who don't have a job, it's because they don't want a job.
Right.
It's very different.
Right.
So in relation to a highly competitive environment, and we know, not a lot of public schools have that, what you've had there, what were the main things that were going on at your school district that were attracting so many kids to move back into public school?
Well, I think that the difference is despite the charter school movement that exists in Texas, despite all those open options, there was a lot of loyalty to what the school district provided. I mean, we had better facilities. We were able to pass bonds. We had, some support from the state level to be able to update our facilities. And so when I take a look at it, I think the bottom line is it's the same thing in any situation. We had great teachers. We had good principals, and we communicated that out, and people, for the most part, felt that their child in our school system in Texas received a superior education to any other option there. And so I don't see that too different from where we are here. I think our biggest challenge is, and when I take a look at middle school and high school data, we actually have student enrollment increases in middle school and high school here in Tucson Unified. Where we didn't see an increase was elementary, which says if people are in the system, they're not all that dissatisfied with it. Doesn't mean that we need to not do better, but they're not leaving at the middle school and high school. What we see is they're not enrolling at the elementary. So are we doing a good enough job in saying you need to come in and see what we're doing? I don't believe we have any teachers anywhere who would say, I'm not doing a great job with kids. I believe we have them that would say, I love kids and I love the work that I do.
Yeah, we talk about the magic that happens in the classroom, and it's the teacher and the principal at that class level that makes such a big difference.
Before I get on to what's currently going on in TUSD, what were some of the factors that you had to deal with in relation to either school board or unions or things that were different, your relationship that you see between those entities in Odessa that are different than what you're experiencing in Tucson?
Sure. Well, I mean, you did mention unions, and in Texas, we're like Arizona, a right-to-work state. However, unions don't exist. But we did have teacher organizations, and if you don't work well with your teacher organizations in Texas or work well with your unions here, you don't get things moving forward. So, that one really is a different name but same difference. So it's a matter of working with people. So I wouldn't say that there's a major difference there. I'll say the biggest difference is the financial structure. In Texas, we had local control over being able to levy our local taxes to be able to support public education. Here, the money is kind of sucked up, sent to Phoenix, and then Phoenix redistributes it the way that Phoenix wants to redistribute it. And that's an inefficient system. When you have to hire bureaucracy to take money in and then redistribute money, it makes a lot more sense at the local level. And local tax efforts should support local schools. And so that's one of the biggest differences I see is the community's ability to really govern its schools. In this district, I mean, we approve a tax rate, but it's more of a pomp and circumstance. There's no real meaning to it. People sometimes don't understand that.
Well, I think if you couple the freedom of the charter school, if your kids really not, you don't think they're getting what they need, that you can move them, is the taking the money filtering through the state even necessary?
Right.
Would you say, Joe?
Well, so the funding formula for schools is always so darn complicated. You got about a third from the Fed, a third from the state, and a third local control. And it just you got different masters and different. You can't do something on a national level. The state's trying to do one thing, you got equalization to keep the school districts even. From a taxpayer point of view, I'm in TUSD School District Board area, and I think I'm at 4 and some change per 100. Just up the street, Catalina Foothills District, just literally about 4 blocks away from me, is in the $1.60, $1.80. So for some's money leaving out of my house to go to the school district, and you're saying somebody gets stepped to Phoenix and doesn't come back down equally, correct?
Right. I mean, it comes down as they see that they feel it needs to come down to provide under their formula some degree of equity, which I think is kind of interesting in a state where I came from, being a state that was a heavy Republican state, much like Arizona. It's interesting to say that we're going to allow for local control, but we're going to take all this money and then we're going to distribute it equally to make sure that everybody gets the same. So, sometimes that doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. And again,
but then you got DSEG going on, all kinds of stuff. So all in, let's talk about. I mentioned at the break.
Sure.
Tucson or in Arizona, and TUSD, the school district, is about 9,400 per student all in.
Right.
And what was it in Odessa?
It was very similar. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of difference.
Okay.
The majority of our funding came from local taxes. We did receive some support from federal under free and reduced lunch program, and then some from the state. Very, very little from the state. Most of it was local tax effort, but very similar. It varied about $200 plus, $200 minus when you take a look at the average here.
Okay. So about
in
the
district.
same,
right around the same.
Yeah, big district, same funding formulas, a little different demographic issues based on economic, socioeconomic, and those kind of things.
All right, gentlemen, we got to go pay some bills. 790-2040 is the phone number if you have a question for TUSD Superintendent H.T. Sanchez. wakeuptucson@gmail.com. Chris and Joe, H.T. Sanchez, Ed Alexander spinning the tunes. Wake Up Tucson, 1030 The Voice.
What do you think the teacher's going to look like this year?
Wake Up Tucson with Joe Higgins and Christy Simone on 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
Up in the morning and out to school.
Wake Up Tucson. Call Chris and Joe now at 790-2040.
All right, 7:19 in the morning. Chris and Joe in studio with H.T. Sanchez, Superintendent, Tucson Unified School District. Joe and I have talked about when people ask us about the future of Tucson, Arizona, one of the things that is so critical to the long term is the success of your school district. You have 40 to 50,000 kids here that are going to become the next, hopefully, adults here in this town, and hopefully the business leaders of this town provide the opportunities for them to work here, for God's sakes. But you are at the ground zero of core of how this place is going to get better.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think one of the things that has been a challenge in coming into the district, the district where I came from, we spent quite a bit of time putting together a plan. What's our plan of action? And if initiatives or ideas or grants or anything didn't align with that plan of action, we didn't pursue it. We were working on becoming a very focused district so that we didn't spend money on things that didn't make sense, that we couldn't see an immediate impact or an impact down the road or maintain sustainability. It's going to be the same type of work that we're going to have to do here. If you go onto the TUSD website under the superintendent's page, you'll see the beginnings of our business leadership team plan, which I began working with our business leadership team. I think we should have processes that are simple, easy to understand, that anybody can access. And so I've been sending out our drafts of our business leadership team plan across the district and asking for feedback. And I've gotten feedback from people in our preventative maintenance shop all the way to teachers and administrators. So it really is about having a plan, holding to the plan, and maintaining a focus.
Yeah.
Well, you're a young guy, all right, and which is great, okay, because we're the ones that have to inherit the earth coming up for the next 20, 30 years and change it for ourselves and our kids. You seem to be a pretty focused guy. What are you doing here? Because
how are you at politics?
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
But what are you doing here?
No.
Why are you in Tucson, Arizona?
I mean, it's a good question. I'll tell you, it's not because of the weather. I mean, I've come in, I think, during the hottest part of the year. They tell me that December is great here, that you can go and play golf in December, and so I'm waiting for that. I'll believe it when I see it. But really and truly, it's a culmination of things. I've been a bilingual ESL director, and this is a population in our district where we have a lot of English language learners. I've also been over, finance in a school district that experienced a major cut in funding at the state level about 2-3 years ago. And so I have that background. And then I've also been in Washington, D.C. working on DSEG issues with the district, with Ector County, as we moved to post-unitary status. And we're able to move beyond a court order that was right around as old as the one here. So when the job was posted and I got a phone call and I was asked by the search firm, you should really consider Tucson Unified. And I started looking into the challenges that were here. And I was able to go back through my experiences and say, I have experience with that, I have experience with that, I have experience with that. And the opportunity to positively, as you said, affect the future of this community and 50,000 students. I mean, it's amazing to be able to do that. As a classroom teacher, I went in wanting to affect the future of the 138 kids that were assigned to me, to have an opportunity to affect the future of 50,000 in a very positive way and build a better Tucson. I mean, that's just a great opportunity.
So let's DSEG. You mentioned that Odessa was under a very similar agreement that we had, and you navigated through that process. Was there opposition to stay in the DSEG world, or was it pretty much community-wide saying, look, we need to move beyond this?
As always, there were some that said I would, one of the things I'm probably infamous or famous for is I'm very honest. And so there were some people who wanted to stay in DSEG because there's power and control in saying, I don't like that, I want this, and to have some say or sway in that. It's not very different here. There are certain people that like the DSEG court order because it gives them authority and power over the education of, my daughter's in the system. Mm-hmm. And so some of that is, I think, well-intentioned, but then some of that, I wonder if it's as well-intentioned or it's just a matter of I want authority over this, or I want to oversee and say what should or should not be.
From an administrator point of view, is there a difference between under the DSEG regulation and not? Did it make your life different, easier, more able to get to the classroom with money and assets and all the things you needed?
A lot of times as you're working through the DSEG court order, it takes a tremendous amount of time to make sure. I'll give you an example. Our student rights and responsibility. Pre-DSEG, you have to take a look at, or with your DSEG court order in place, you have to go to both plaintiffs in our district. And you have to go to the Department of Justice because now they're a plaintiff. And then it goes to the governing board. And so by the time everybody's done looking at this thing, it's extremely tedious. It's extremely cumbersome. And there are things that you don't agree with, but you have to live. So take that same scenario into a post-unitary status. You don't end up having to go through all that, but the proof in the pudding is, are you doing a better job of keeping kids in the classroom and making your school safer?
Sure.
That should be the measure. That should truly be the measure.
Focus on the basics, right? Go back to
Right.
basics instead of all the hoops and the bureaucracies and the different levels you have to address and go to.
790-2040 is the phone number. We're on with H.T. Sanchez, Superintendent, TUSD. Let's go to Robert on the phone. He's got a call. He's got a question for H.T. What's up, Robert?
Hey, welcome to Tucson.
Thank you.
There's going to be I feel so cheated that I'm not bilingual.
on your
And
side.
House Bill it's not like you don't have to lift a finger in this town to learn. But this desegregation, it sounds like the mother that keeps their child sick so she can get attention from the nurses. When you leave here today, can you segregate or desegregate us by tomorrow so we're done with it? It seems like the demographics are creeping up to be 50-50 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you raise a good question. There have been communities all over the United States that when they hit a certain threshold, the community goes before the court and says, hey, it's really not an issue because we're, like in our situation, we are a majority district, and I hate saying that, it doesn't even make sense, but we are a majority district in that we're 63% Hispanic, and once you include other groups that are considered minority groups, we are a majority district. But, the focus shouldn't be on, let's focus on one specific group. It should be a matter of let's have excellence for all groups, and it should be a matter of let's take a look at excellent schools in all neighborhoods, not just a few excellent schools here or there. I think that's a bigger challenge is we want excellence everywhere. The work that we have to do to move beyond DSEG is we have to get consensus on what excellence is. And it has to be something that's meaningful to all kids, and it has to be something that we can articulate, something so simple you can put it on the back of a T-shirt. So what's excellence? I mean, excellence, in my opinion, is something very simple. It's kids graduate from high school, they're ready for the workplace to get a good job, not a minimum wage job, and they're ready to go into college, university study, or the military. And they're ready to assume positions of leadership. And, I think that should be our greater focus. I do believe that there are some well-meaning folks out there that want to see the DSEG issue move to unitary status. But, again, I believe, as with anything, there are some that throughout the years, some people have made a whole lot of money with the DSEG court order. One of the issues that we're wrangling with right now is the attorneys on all sides of this are not happy with the pay structure and how they're getting paid out of DSEG. And so, if somebody's making money off of a court order, do you want peace? If it dries up, that's one of the challenges that we're looking at.
Right.
Hey, Robert, thanks for the great call, man. 790-2040 is the phone number. We have heard you've heard the stories. We've heard the stories. I got teachers right now in TUSD middle schools who are responsible because there's no janitors. They're doing their own. They got their own little jumpsuit and they clean their rooms. We had Miguel Cuevas, former board member, on the show, who's a young guy, talk about how he graduated at I think Maximilian Middle School, and he didn't know multiplication or division when he got to high school. Mm-hmm. So this is a big question for you.
Sure.
What is the H.T. Sanchez 5-point kind of plan, just big picture right now, on what needs to happen to get the ship right?
Right. Well, in a very, very simple way, and you say 5 points, and
well, how many points you were?
Make it 100 if you do.
No. You say 5 points, but I'll keep it with that because it actually, if you go to our website, our instructional leadership team plan follows along that. The first thing you have to have is a quality curriculum. And what is a quality curriculum? A quality curriculum isn't something that tells a teacher on Monday you have to say this and do this at this point in time. That's not a quality curriculum. That's the last thing that would be considered a quality curriculum. But if you want to take a look at what a quality curriculum entails, a quality curriculum is one in which you provide general guidance on the big ideas and the big concepts that kids need to know so they're ready for the next grade level. So we have to have that.
So are you, before you get off that point,
sure.
Common Core, are you a fan of it? Do you think it's got some merit and some, I mean, where are you at? Because that's a federal discussion, right, coming down on us?
Common Core, I'm indifferent to it. And the reason I'm indifferent to it is a fraction's a fraction, the quadratic equation's a quadratic equation, subject-verb agreement is subject-verb agreement.
Wait a minute here. Is there going to be a quiz this morning?
Joe, what's the Pythagorean theorem?
I don't know. Don't do it. I'm not smarter than a fifth grader.
Google it.
Thanks, Sal Point.
But I mean, in a real simple way, I mean, the whole thing with Common Core and curriculum, it's going to be a matter of what are you going to teach? It's going to get kids ready for the next grade level.
Sure.
Simple. The second thing that you have to take a look at is how do you use student performance information? And I'm not just talking about the Ames test. I'm talking about, attendance. I'm talking about tardies. I'm talking about behavior. I'm talking about how often kids are sent out of the classroom, how much time they really spent engaged learning. So you want to take a look at that. Student performance information, of course, you look at the state testing. You take a look at your curriculum. You take a look at, again, what indicators are showing whether or not students are interested, engaged, being successful. And then you take a look at lesson planning. How do you put lessons together? And again, it's not something you buy. It's not something that's prepackaged. It's something that great teachers put together to engage and reach kids. So how do you package your curriculum using your student information about where kids are to get them to where they need to be? And again, I'm very simple in that. Ready for the next grade level, assuming that each grade level will get them across the stage and ready for career, college, or military. After that, it's
Can you hold on
Sure,
one second because we got to run to a break here. It's 7:31. We've gone through 2. We got a few more. We're going to cliffhanger you going forward. And the superintendents, the superintendents that we've had on this show, many of them from Vail to Flowing Wells, gets back to and I love the Nick Clement over at Flowing Wells says, look, I tell my teachers, let me worry about the admin and the money and all that stuff. You make the magic happen in the classroom. And I think that's where we kind of got to get back to is like, look. Let's get all this politics out of the way. The magic happens in the classroom. Let's support you, teachers, and let that happen. So we'll be right back after the break with H.T. Sanchez, TUSD Superintendent. It's 7:32. If you'd like to get in the discussion, the phone number is 790-2040. Wake Up Tucson.
Wake Up Tucson. Talk with us now. 790-2040.